until away from totality here. You can already start to feel it in the air. And of course, if you're watching this live, you can see on the bottom left-hand screen, that's where we're at until some of the boulders totality. And it's getting darker out here. Everybody's extremely excited for this rare event.
I was going to say who has that playing, and it's me. Uh, my apologies. Anyway, welcome to the Astro Cafe for April 8th, and I'm sure everybody's excited after the eclipse this morning, and we're going to have a lot of that to talk about. So let's see, Randy, you were speaking and describing a little bit about being interviewed, and also David was interviewed for Czech TV. So Randy, David, how about if you let us tell us a little bit about your experiences there?
Do you want to go ahead, Randy, or?
Well, I'm in Montreal. Actually, what I'd like to first hear is who's not in Victoria today? I know where Nathan is. So just say where you are. Just shout out.
I'm in Niagara on the Lake.
Yay.
Hello.
Oh, I love the video from there.
I'm back in Ottawa, but I was in Beauharnois, Quebec.
And Nathan, where are you located? You'll have to turn your on.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm also in Montreal. Randy's we intervened today.
Oh, I thought you were going to be in Texas.
I thought I was going to be in Texas too.
Nathan is the one who should go first. He's got the story.
Okay.
Oh, very good. Go ahead, Nathan. We'll put you on the spot.
Okay, this is actually really convenient because I have a super early flight to catch tomorrow, so I might sign off a little bit prematurely. Just because I need to go drug myself with melatonin and fall asleep. So I feel like I finally understand what the madness of eclipse chasing is like, because originally we were going to Texas, then change of plans, we were going to Hamilton, and then as the weather in Hamilton degraded, we kind of jumped ship into Montreal and saw it in Montreal, and it was fabulous. I have some pictures that I would love to share that we got. I was down by the port, or down by the St. Lawrence, and there was a huge crowd of people, and it became very primal around totality. It's interesting to see what that sort of stuff does to the human mind, and I definitely felt it. So I'd like to start by sharing the picture that we got from the eclipse today.
Oh, wow.
I'm really, really joking. This is not the picture I got. This is by some astronomer, Mr. Hill, John Hill or something. I've never heard of him before, but this was NASA's.
That was very fast processing if you just got that this morning.
This is HDR, extremely.
And Nathan, before you continue, where exactly in Montreal were you?
I'm not even sure. Where were we?
Saint Hubert in the port. Right in the big Ferris wheel.
The port at Saint Hubert.
Okay.
What was I?
What happened is he came to our house. I'm at my in-laws' house.
Yeah.
Checked it out, said, can't see the horizon. And then he and his grandmother walked all the way from here because you couldn't take the metro. It was completely filled up. And they walked all the way down to the port from here, which was what, half an hour walk?
Yeah, it was a nice walk. This was NASA's astronomy picture of the day for reference. This was the picture that I ended up getting.
Ah, nice.
Is Dave Robinson here tonight?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I have it packed away and I will be returning it to you very soon. But this was like, this made the day for so many people down at the docks.
Okay.
There were very few people with telescopes there, so I was able to share that view with a lot of people.
Just by way of explanation, I loaned Nathan my Chinese knockoff ETX telescope with solar filter.
So Nathan, was this afocal into the eyepiece, or did you? Is this an iPhone picture or a phone?
This is an
picture?
iPhone picture.
Ah.
Yeah, this is the only way I do things, really. So,
That's
yeah, I
terrific.
knew it was your style. So,
and then this is a picture of the eclipse over. I believe the French name of that ride is literally just the big wheel of Montreal. And it was really spectacular. All the building lights came on. I presume the building lights came on because they were automatic light sensing. But maybe people turned them on, people in their work days who had no idea what was happening, where suddenly the sky just broke and they were like, what the heck? It's like, for a population of 800,000, I bet that happened at some, like, for a substantial number of people. I wish I could have been there to watch their reactions. And then my hand was shaking so much by this point that I didn't even get a clear shot of the diamond ring, but I did get a little bit. It was so cool. And then this picture is the picture I will use from now on when someone asks, have I seen Montreal by day or by night? And I'll say, can you show me a picture of Montreal by day or Montreal by night? And I was like, I can do better. Here's one of both at the same time. This was just as the shadow was passing overhead, the edge of the shadow. So it was really bizarre.
Nathan, the star-like object, is that Jupiter or one of the planets?
That's Venus.
That's Venus, I think.
Ah,
Yeah, for sure. Venus below, Jupiter above.
okay.
Use my telescope to get those pictures.
And then the last one I did was just a very, very quick compilation that I put together from the pictures we got today. And yeah, I haven't really had time to process these. However, I don't think I'll process it more, to be honest. The glare is just artifact from the eyepieces, but this is, to sum it up, what I saw today, and it was super cool. And another thanks to Dave Robinson for loaning
Very
me
nice.
scope.
You're welcome.
That's very. I like the montage. That's beautiful.
Thank you. That's what I got. So
Nathan, tell us about the weather. I'm curious about the weather.
Oh yeah, I learned about the website cleardarkskies.com, and I still have no idea what exactly the European civil cloud cover means. If anyone has an explanation for that in that context.
Maybe Reg can describe that.
I'm not sure what you're looking at, Nathan, so I'll say nothing.
Oh yeah, the website cleardarkskies.com. There's like the astronomical clear skies meter on the top, and then the level below it is another clear sky meter that's apparently more civil or European. That's what they called it.
There's a Canada model and there's a European model. Of cloud cover.
I prepared some stuff on the Canadian model stuff if there's time later on tonight to show.
All right.
Anyways, excellent.
Oh, the weather, right. Sorry. The clouds were wispy. They were there. At the start of the day, it was totally clear skies, and then the clouds sort of came in, but it was extremely thin and a very, very high layer of cirrus clouds. And in some ways, it kind of added a nice element because the shadow was cast on the clouds, which looked really spectacular.
Also, we had a ring from the ice crystals. So we had a beautiful ring around the was that the 15-degree ring?
Oh, the solar halo? The solar halo?
Yeah.
Yep.
I can get a photo of that. I took a picture of that. It is here.
So Randy, I take it you were not in the same place as Nathan.
No.
Is that a sundog?
Once Nathan's finished, I can talk about my Montreal
Okay.
experience.
That's
Yeah,
lovely
I'm
thing
done.
to do.
Nathan, if I might just add, you didn't speak about how you were a true eclipse chaser, because Nathan, you just talked about you
I
being in
did. You just
Montreal.
showed up halfway
Oh,
through.
I missed that.
Yeah.
So we said bon voyage to Nathan in Southern Ontario because the weather was not looking favorable in Dundas, Hamilton, or Niagara. And we wanted Nathan to be able to see it. So Montreal did look better based on all these weather sites.
So were you traveling by car? How did you negotiate this?
No. We flew to Southern Ontario, which is where my mom lives.
Yeah.
And we flew into Toronto. We rented a car, and we were planning on viewing it here. But then Nathan and Kathy's mom took a train to Montreal and are in Montreal now, and we stayed in Ontario.
And if it's drippy, you could throw it in.
And how was it for you,
It
Brian?
does say tumble
So
dryer.
we kind of like kept a close eye on the same weather apps
Throw
that
it in for a little bit. Hang it up.
and
But if it's
last
hung
night
it,
it's
it'll-
not looking
it
good
won't
on
rainbow.
in Dundas,
Sorry?
and or Niagara or Hamilton. So today, and last night we decided we thought about driving to Port
Wait, Brian,
Pelee.
Chris, can you mute? Chris Gaynor?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Last night we sort of had the idea of
Really,
driving
because we
to
have-
Italy, which looked better, but we didn't do that. And so today what we did was we drove to St. Thomas, which is just south of London, because the weather looked like it was going to be better. And we had pretty clear skies. There was just a little bit of wisps that was just kind of coming in at totality, but it was perfect. It was great. So I have to say that I'm very happy that we saw it. I'm even happier that Nathan saw it, and I'm even happier that Nathan saw it. That I was worried that we would see it, and with all the effort that Nathan went through, he wasn't going to see it, and it would have felt terrible because we'd have to lie to him saying, "Oh, we didn't see it. It was awful." But everybody saw it, so that was great.
Well, we can truly call you eclipse chasers then.
Truly,
Well, Nathan, at least, for sure.
Nathan went the distance for sure.
Yeah.
And I won't show you any pictures because I did take a picture with my cell phone, but Nathan blows those away. So I do have one that I was hoping to share, but it's a time lapse. It just shows the kind of the sun getting, from a bright ball to a little ring and then a bright ball, but I wasn't able to process it. So maybe another time. So, yeah.
Well, let me continue the Montreal experience. So I'm at my in-laws' place, and we were about 20 people here, but it included a CBC journalist who covered it. So let me just go share screen. Share. And do I go here? Oh, bother. So this is the CBC website. And there's me. So what we're doing at this point is we're covering the sun with our eyes and looking at the ring, because my brother-in-law said, "What's that ring?" And I figured it out that it was, it's the ice crystals, and it was kind of value added. So these are other people, which is fine. That's me. So these are the people who live downstairs. He's a plumber and he had a good number 14. Some people were worried about his welder's, what do you call it? Welder's vision guide. Anyway, that's their daughter, who was really fun. There's other pictures of me. Montreal, there's me. Montreal was crazy. The what do you call it? The Parc Drapeau, the old expo, island was they handed out 150,000 glasses and they ran out. They had to close the bridge. They said that bikes and dogs were not allowed on the metro. Everybody who came to our place had to walk. There was no way you could take the metro. Is that it for ours? That might be it. Anyway, it was really fun and nice interviews. So what interviews did I have? 2 on CFAX, the Times Colonist, and tonight was on CTV. Now, I haven't seen that, but she asked for about a 10-second clip. Now, you have to do something so I can play the music, that I can play sound on this and you can hear it. Does anybody know what I have to do?
There is a sound option on the share page. You should be able to see it.
On the share page. There we go.
Yeah, there should be a sound button or something like that. Enable sound.
How about advanced? Share sound. That's what I have to do. Good for you, David. And then, how shall I get this? You would think after all this, we would be good at these things, eh? I'm going to go Facebook. And sure, here we go.
There.
Oh, wow! And that's what I have to share. It was super fun. We made Eclipse cookies. Sorry, I played it again. So what did I see? Pink fingers. Nobody told me about pink fingers. So first of all, do you know what I'm talking about? When it was under totality, there were these pink lines coming in towards the center of the moon. And so I'm seeing blank faces, but all of a sudden,
Those are
and somebody
prominences.
said, yeah, those are the pink fingers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, those are prominences. Yeah,
No,
I mean,
but they were going in.
Okay, interesting.
Well, they come out and go in, but I don't know how you can tell which is which.
Okay.
I mean, normally a prom will sort of emerge off the surface and then loop back. That's usually like a loop or multiple loops. The only other feature that I'm aware of, which are kind of like that, is what they call helmet streamers, and they usually occur above each prominence. So around the prominence, if you look at where a prominence is, and then you look at the streamers that come out, they typically form like a teardrop, and they call them helmet streamers.
Okay, I have to find out more about this.
I added in a Halo reference for you, Randy.
Randy,
In the chat.
It was
Randy, they can get thicker as they go away out from the sun. Usually
Yeah.
they get thicker but dimmer as it kind of widens from the surface. Like it comes out in a jet, so it might look like it's going in, but you don't know.
You know what? Lasted 90 seconds, and boy, did that go fast.
Temperature observations, Randy? Did you feel any chill?
Everybody's had to put their sweaters on for sure. You know, people were saying, how come it's getting colder? We made eclipse cookies. Actually, we made some that were by accident. Oh, I should have brought them with me. That had the white part concave. And so, instead of it being, the joke where you have the sun, earth, moons, that's the lunar eclipse, and the sun, moon, earth is the solar eclipse. And then you have the moon, sun, earth is the apocalypse. So by accident, we made some apocalypse cookies.
Possibly the nuance would have been not understood by everybody.
I have lots more to say, but let's leave it for now because I want to hear other stories.
All right, very good. Sounds like you had an excellent time, Randy. Chris Gainer, are you with us here? There we go. There.
Yes.
Hello.
Greetings from Windsor, Ontario. So we came to Windsor, and I didn't want to go to Niagara or anything like that, we were all set to go into the U.S., which should have meant going down into Ohio, because the forecast looked kind of better there. But when I got up this morning, it didn't look so much better there, and so we drove basically a little south to because the totality did not go through Windsor. They went south in Leamington, and the place we wound up going to, called Colchester Harbor, and the RASC Windsor Center, I think, was set up there. I think some of them were also at Point Pelly Island, or Point Pelly Park, which is the southernmost portion of Canada. But we knew it would be madness.
They showed a huge auto lineups going to that park.
Yeah, and I just knew that was what was going to happen. There's only one road going in there, so that we never thought about that. So we got less totality, but a lot less stress, shall we say? And so we got there, a couple of hours before the eclipse started, and there was it was pretty clear, but you could see a bank of clouds in the horizon below us, and the forecast was basically saying it was going to get start to get cloudy around 2ish, and the totality was at 3:15. And it actually reminded me a little bit of what we had last October. Do you remember when we were up in the observatory hill and
Yeah.
clouds came up? And I thought, here we go again. But the clouds weren't that thick, and totality was quite good. Of course, it was far from perfect, but it was certainly good enough. And I have some pictures here, but I don't know. I'm just working off of my tablet here. I'm not sure. I may just let's see if I can try something here.
So, Chris, that's an interesting observation about not being perfect, because I think there were a lot of, to me, when I heard about the weather reports, I thought they were total write-offs. But I keep forgetting that thin cloud doesn't really matter. It just kind of almost burns through, and maybe even makes it a little bit more atmospheric.
Yeah. Do you see that?
Victoria, I managed to see a little bit of the nick out of the side of the sun with the glasses through the cloud. It was intermittent, but definitely could see it.
I see nothing yet, Chris.
Okay, let's see. Well, there is something here, but it seems to operate a little differently. So I think maybe I'll just not bother, because it's not, particularly spectacular or anything.
Could you describe it? Could you describe it, Chris?
Oh, well, it's just it's a shot of the to my iPhone. Let's see. Does that work? Do you see anything there? Now I lost you, I think. Hello. Anyway,
Are you on a phone, Chris?
I'm on an iPad,
Oh, on an iPad. Okay.
and it does seem to have a way to, at least it acts like it's going to work, but it doesn't. So
Oh, something happened.
there it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you got it there?
Yeah, I see totality.
So this is, what was interesting to me this time, I saw the 79 eclipse in, bitter cold weather. And of course, it's a long time ago. And I tend to compare this experience to Oregon. So, and I was in Madras. It seemed to get colder sooner than it did in Oregon. It just seemed to get really cold really fast just before totality. And here it was a bit longer and gradual slide down to it getting cold and then sort of the diamond ring period going in seemed to be kind of prolonged to me. It sort of seemed, I was looking through my eclipse glasses, and there's hardly anything there, but it was still kind of too bright to look at without. But it finally it came along. There we had about a minute and a half of totality, and it was really great to, I think I'd been kind of led to expect that the corona was going to be a little bigger than what we'd seen before, but I didn't really notice that. And yeah, and you can see Venus in the photo. That's kind of the only other object I noticed. And you can see the clouds there. There are still a lot of clouds about, but they didn't spoil totality. I had Audrey was with me, who was with me in Oregon, and but a number of my sister-in-law who had never seen one before, and everybody was most impressed. So and during totality, of course, you can see near the horizon, that's the way it was lit up, sort of the sunrise and sunset. This is over Lake Erie we're looking at here, kind of south over Lake Erie, and I actually I wasn't planning to take that many pictures, but I took a couple of pictures of the horizon looking around, and I'm not going to try and get them all here tonight. I'm happy getting this thing up, but it was good. I was really wondering what we were in for, and but I think we had better conditions than they did on the other side of the lake where we would have been, where we might have gone based on what we'd seen before.
Chris, this is this also shows thin cloud. So you were actually viewing this through thin cloud as well, then?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And I've seen one photo from a place we might have gone in Ohio, taken by a better photographer than me. And it looked pretty good. So maybe they must have been dealing with the same thing, but anyway.
It looks thin enough that you can see Jupiter there.
That's Venus.
Or is it Venus? Yeah. Okay.
I think Jupiter is above the sun.
Yeah. I can't say I really noticed it, but yeah, and going through the partial phase, it was quite good, and so yeah, and this evening I've been kind of going through a lot of the coverage and various other things, and it looks like a lot of people got to see the eclipse. In some places I wasn't sure they'd be able to see it. So
Well, the early morning prediction when I was watching things in Victoria before I went up to the center of the universe was that things were kind of flipped around. Like there were a lot of areas that were meant to be clear that were kind of cloudy, and then the winner out of all this they had predicted was Quebec and New Brunswick.
yeah, and it sure looks like that was the case.
Mm.
Yeah, because there was certainly a lot of clouds about all over Ontario, and um, and I don't think we did too badly. Not as much as I was praying we would, but anyway. So yeah, it was a good day, and I yeah, I'm not being a great photographer. Yeah, I took a few with this, and then I had my tablet going, and I filmed the whole thing, uh, which is kind of fun. Just recreating the whole experience. But yeah, as usual, there's just so much to it. You take in different things each time.
I think Laurie has her hand up.
Go ahead, Laurie.
Your audio isn't on, Laurie.
There we go.
There you
Hi,
go.
everybody. Well, I'm sad to say that in St. Catharines, I only got, you know how they say that some condos have water glimpses? Well, that's what we saw, is we saw solar glimpses. And we were in not thin high cloud, we were in cloud. And so it was just every now and then the crowd would just yell and scream because we got one little tiny little glimpse of a part of a partial. And then at the totality, and we had 3 minutes 15 seconds in St. Catharines, and we saw absolutely zero of the totality because it went behind a great big gray cloud, stayed there for the entire of totality, and we didn't see it until it came back out as another kind of thin crescent. It was the saddest thing I've ever done. But a lot of other people at Brock University, we were all on the big field at Brock University, and lots of students, lots of kids, lots of people. It was really, I mean, it was quite fun. They did a really good job at Brock, and I was just so sad because we came home and a friend emailed another friend that we were with a picture from Port Dalhousie, which is only about maybe 5 kilometers down the road from where we were, and they got a picture of the diamond ring. So
wow.
it just happened that when they were able to have the sun peek through that one little tiny bit of cloud, and somebody got an exact picture of it, but we literally saw zero of the totality.
So Laurie, all the broadcasts that I saw on the news seemed to focus. Well, there were some areas that obviously were not going to see any sun, right? So they kind of focused on some of the other effects. Did you feel any of the other effects, like temperature?
Yeah, it was. It certainly got cooler. It was actually quite cool today, and people were in jackets and that kind of thing. But it got cooler. What I thought was very specific was that because we were in cloud, we were not like, we were already kind of a little bit darker than we would normally be, but it stayed kind of lighter and lighter and lighter, and then all of a sudden, like when it was totality, it just darkened almost like just immediately. Even though we were not able to see totality, the whole thing just went dark, and everybody was just like going crazy because the only way that we knew that it was totality was the clock on the clock that said 3:17 or something, and it went really dark, and it stayed dark for the 3 minutes, and then it just came back out in light, like just so quickly, more than I remember in Oregon. Like it just seemed to go down and it was light, and then it was dark, and then it was light. And much more so than in Oregon. I felt much more of a graduation of light. But the temperature did go down, but it wasn't going down really drastically at all. It was it was fine. But people people were quite thrilled with what they saw. But we didn't have to use our eclipse glasses very often at all, because we were seeing things completely through cloud, and we were able to just simply, like the day up on the mountain,
like the partial back last October, right?
October,
Yeah.
we were hardly using our eclipse glasses at all, because it just never came through that way. So I take it that everybody else that saw something anywhere else in Canada, be really, really thankful, because we didn't get it where we were. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing everybody's pictures. I can give you pictures, but they have a whole bunch of clouds in them. That's all from St. Catharines.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. Chris Purse, you were in, no, even after I've heard you pronounce it, I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Okay.
In a small town.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so yeah, this is my second total solar eclipse, and so I did see the previous one from Idaho. So and that was under really quite clear skies, and of course under quite dry skies conditions. So I'm visiting with my sister-in-law, and my wife and I are visiting. So the three of us decided to go to Kingston, Ontario yesterday and spend the night there, rather than trying to fight our way down there this morning. And I'm glad we did, because thanks to Reg's information, the cloud forecast was not particularly encouraging for Kingston today, and it was supposed to have some quite persistent and thickening cloud as the day progressed. And certainly this morning when we were getting up, we said, this is not looking good. We need to head toward the Quebec border. So I was looking at places along the way in the astronomy forecast, and we decided that instead of stopping before the border, we would cross it and we'd go into the western part of Quebec. And so that's what we did. So we loaded up checked out of our hotel and loaded up the car and headed on the 401 east as fast as we could, and actually had good driving conditions. So that worked out well. And we picked Beauharnois, Quebec. And if people know this area or that area at all, it's I was actually born in Greater Montreal, so it's an area where I spent my first 12 years. Beauharnois is the kind of southwest edge of where the river, the St. Lawrence River, widens to the south of Montreal. It forms quite a big lake on the west part of the island, which is actually where I used to live. And it kind of comes to a close and becomes a river again. And at Beauharnois, there was enough to build a hydroelectric plant. And also there's a lock there for the entrance to the next part of the St. Lawrence Seaway. So it's, so I was about 30 some odd kilometers away from Nathan and Randy, a little bit further to the west. Anyways, we arrived there and had lunch and scouted out the town. We found this little park called Sauvé Park down on the St. Lawrence waterfront. And so we said, okay, well, let's go there. We parked the car and set up, and it was just starting to get a bit hazy when the eclipse started. And it was, but we saw all the way up to totality really beautifully. I didn't bother trying to take photographs because I decided I wanted to see it. So I had filtered binoculars and eclipse glasses. So that's what we used. And we basically set up and sat and watched. The three of us watched it build towards totality. And we did notice that the cloud was getting thicker, and I was getting a bit concerned because I was wondering what that was going to do to the totality, and figured that we might get a washout. But anyways, the temperature plummeted. It got really quite cold there because it had been quite warm. I'd been sitting out in just a shirt, like this shirt with a vest on, and it was it was good. So I had to go and put my outer coat on as well, and it was getting really cold. But then we suddenly saw, totality approached, and the sun vanished, and there was this diamond ring through the mist, and it was just immense. And I'd been sitting there getting kind of cold and thinking, well, this isn't so great. Why am I sitting here? And then the totality started, and I'm going, oh, that's why I'm sitting here. It's just, it was incredible. And we actually, this time, which I didn't notice in Idaho last time, is you could see some of the pink corona with your naked eye, and it was just spectacular. And there were these string of colored globe lanterns along the edge of this park, and those came on, and the street lights in the town came on, and the park light came on, and there were my wife figured about 60 people in this park. It's not a huge park, but we were all nicely spread out. We weren't on top of each other, and people kind of got a little quiet and then started, you could hear a bit of the excitement. So we got 2 minutes and 5 seconds of totality and another diamond ring, but we had enough haze that I didn't try and look too closely to see if I could see the planets, but I don't think they would have broken through the haze. It was getting quite thick. Now, as it turns out, I've had a report from Kingston, so I just mentioned, because I don't think Margie's on the line, but they had a beautifully timed break and got to see totality, apparently.
Mm-hmm. That happened in a couple of areas.
Yeah.
I saw that in a Kingston report, and one of my favorites so far is Niagara, and they were looking through dense kind of mist, but it was beautiful.
And so it proved to be quite providential, because we made our way back because we wanted to get back to Ottawa. So we were actually further away from Ottawa than we, had we stayed in Kingston. Mm-hmm. And we did, my sister-in-law knows all the routes around here. So we drove back to along back roads and didn't try and get on the highways initially. And once we got closer in line with Cornwall, there were members of the Ontario Provincial Police directing traffic at the major intersections, because there were huge lineups coming north from the Cornwall area and the St. Lawrence down there. So that must have been, a lot of people must have been down at Cornwall and a place called Long Sault down on the St. Lawrence River. But,
so this was during the exit then?
Yeah, they were. So this is when we were heading back to Ottawa, and they were too. They were trying to get out of that part of Ontario as well.
Were you moving fairly quickly, even in spite of all the load traffic?
We were able to go the speed limit almost the entire journey back to Ottawa.
No, you're lucky.
We were on roads that kind of were averaging 80 kilometers, except in built-up areas. So we were able to do that. So it was, I would say, a better eclipse than 2017. Of course, now I'd seen one before, so I had a bit more know what to expect. But actually, I think we saw more detail this time in it. And after that, right before totality, feeling, kind of, why are we here? And then I say, oh yeah, now I know why we're here, because it is spectacular. And
I heard this time and again in some of these broadcasts where people said that because it wasn't perfect, like it wasn't perfectly clear, the bliss of seeing some tidbits was more treasurable. Like it was something like they're starving you through this thing where you're supposed to have a main course, right? And then they're throwing you these little bits, and all of a sudden there's just this beautiful entree that comes out or something like that.
Well, and that was our worst cloud condition of the whole time, was that we were getting increasing density of cloud. And so that's why I was thinking, oh great, just perfect, we're going to get to totality and it's going to be a washout. But no, it was, and I think possibly having that level of cloud enhanced seeing some of it. So anyways, it was a great experience. Glad I'm here.
That's excellent, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. It's actually interesting, the difference that slight amount of cloud makes a couple of times. For the cooling, I imagine a high level of cloud would keep things slightly warm with a perfectly clear sky with as well. So, and Ron, you've got your hand up. You had a question?
Can you see this photo?
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, this I just wanted to show this. My one of our daughters lives in Hamilton, and she thought it was going to be a stinker of a day, and they went down to the Hamilton Yacht Club, and they had a bonfire going down there, and they sat around, and the sky cleared up for them, and she took this picture with her iPhone. I just wanted to show it first of all because she described it as sublime, freezing cold, and pitch black at the time, but said it was the most wonderful experience of her life. And you can see the corona there.
Yes.
And I thought it was pretty neat. So
That's amazing for a phone shot.
yeah, she actually had a video too, but she didn't press the right button, so she missed that. So, but that's all. Just wanted to show you that.
That's pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have, let's see, a couple more people with their hand up there. You had a question?
I just wanted to show Joe's pictures.
Oh, okay. Actually, hang on one second, Chris. I'm terribly sorry. I'm not sure who this is here, but you have just iPhone on your screen. Could you you had a question or a comment?
Is this me?
Yes,
Jill. It's Jill.
Jill.
Jill. Hello, Jill.
I'm in Niagara on the Lake right now.
Yes, hello.
And as you know, there was an emergency state called for the Niagara region. Well, that was a bit premature, as we all suspected. Niagara on the Lake, I guess the Torontonians woke up this morning, looked at the forecast and stayed home because the parking lots were empty. There was nobody in the parks. But unlike the eclipse chasers, I want the eclipse to come to me. And it didn't, unfortunately. It showed me. I have seen two other eclipses, and this one, because it wasn't visible, like Laurie's experience, very similar. We're close in geography. And this is just trying to find something positive in the whole thing because it was cloudy, and we did see some glimpses of the, like Laurie talked about, of the crescent sun when things were clearing up afterwards. But during totality, like I say, I've seen two before, and I've always been obsessed with looking at the moon over the sun, and I don't think I really noticed what else was going on. And so this time, because there was nothing to see in the sky, I was very focused on the temperature and the sounds and the darkness of that, and I couldn't believe how dark it got. Because there was nothing else to concentrate on, and there was no distraction of having to see an eclipse. It just got so dark. It was profound and kind of exciting in its own little way.
Well, you know, when I saw the video clips, Jill, I wasn't quite sure whether they had been adjusted, but the shots from Niagara were absolutely beautiful. It was like a dusk blue. And they had periodic shots of totality, but it was very heavy cloud cover. Very heavy.
We had no periodic shots of totality at all.
Okay.
We had nothing. But by 5 o'clock, a half an hour after the eclipse, the skies were completely clear here.
Oh,
So it just goes to show you don't know. It could have worked out differently.
Totally clear. I took a picture at 5:50. At 5:15. Absolutely clear as a bell here in St. Catharines. It was so sad. I'm so glad, Jill, to have somebody that I can commiserate with, because everybody have lovely pictures, and yet other, like, around there were little snitches of people that did get things, and then other places where there was just nothing. So anyway,
I got to see Niagara Falls, so that's made up for it all.
Yeah, just a comment. So in this area, Ottawa and Kingston, and that it was a glorious day yesterday, and tomorrow is forecast to be crystal clear and blue again. So there you go.
I would like to, at a later time, to talk about the forecasts, but I'm worried about some people's mental health and my health and safety. So I might.
You're at home, Raj. What do you got to worry about?
Well, some people have long memories here.
David Payne, you have some pictures from to a car, and possibly, hopefully, from John McDonald as well.
I think I might
Yeah,
log off because I need to rest for the
Oh.
flight tomorrow.
Oh,
But
okay,
it
good
was
night.
really
Good night,
great to see
Nathan.
you guys.
Have a safe
And
trip.
yeah.
I'll see you guys
I
still very soon. I'll be back.
personally, I stayed home because I thought it would be better when everyone went everywhere else. Because, like the guy in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think I'm a rain god. Um, just don't know it. So I stayed home, and you couldn't see anything. There wasn't a glimpse. I couldn't even tell where the sun was. There was so much cloud cover in Maple Bay. So, if you saw anything, that's better than you would have got if you stayed home. But I did get an email from Joe, who apparently saw quite a lot. So he's on a cruise ship. I gotta share my screen here. Hold on.
I think he, John, and Bill Weir are on the same boat. I think.
Yep.
That is correct. And Bill Weir's wife.
Right. Right.
Well, here's Joe's Flickr site on the solar eclipse. You can even tell from his title page that you can see seen quite a bit. So we did have some high clouds, lots of eclipse cookies. That's the right way around too. And here's the partial eclipse. You see a couple of sunspots on there. Is everyone seeing this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And gradually getting more and more, and you can see his colander effect, or I'm not sure how he got that. And there's a distant shot.
He said it was through a deck chair.
Through a deck chair, okay. And there's the total eclipse. And from a distance, I think if you want to see the corona, I think you have to have pretty much absolute clear skies. So the corona is always there. You just can't see it because of the brightness of the sun. And the same is with the prominences. And that's why the prominences come out, is just that it's no longer competing with the brightness of the sun itself. So I think these might be the pink fingers that you saw, Randy.
Maybe.
But these are solar prominences coming here, and of course the diamond ring. You can see if the sun is blurry, there's no chance you can see those prominences. And there's another picture of totality down here. You can see a little bit of the corona.
David, can you click on that? I just want to see if we can see it bigger. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow.
So there's the corona. Now, that huge expanse that you saw in that NASA picture that Nathan showed, like, you have to have really clear skies, absolutely clear. Any scattering of that light by clouds.
They're also processed. They're also processed as well. So
yeah. But beautiful picture with prominences, nice totality. I haven't spoken with Joe, so I can't add too much, but I thought I needed to share them. And the other, here's my homies looking at the eclipse. That's the closest I came to seeing the eclipse.
Very good.
So beautiful pictures by Joe. So one of us, or a few of us, the entourage on the cruise must have had a nice show presented to them.
Did anybody hear what happened in Texas? Because Texas was one of the most optimal places.
Well,
that
I watched it. I watched it on the NASA station while I was processing other images and then taking a look outside to see if I could actually see where the sun is. So I was doing three things at the same time. But there was a little bit of cloud. I think this was Dallas. There was a little bit of high cloud, but it was a pretty good view. And they actually showed the view from Mazatlan itself, and it was looking clearer. So I knew that was a generally direction. Going west, it looked like the skies were better. So I figured the entourage on the cruise ship probably had some pretty good scenes. But I don't want to steal Joe's thunder when he comes back. So
Bill Weir mentioned that the captain of the ship was masterful in making sure that the starboard side of the ship was perpendicular to the sun. So it will rotate it, and they didn't have to adjust any of their stuff in azimuth, just altitude. So they're very happy with that.
Yeah, and I'm interested to hear about how things went in Texas, because I was hearing all during the past week that it was going to be awful there. And I've heard things that it was okay there, although I think I heard something about rain in Houston, but I heard that Dallas was okay and things like that. So but I haven't heard from some people who went down there, like Peter Jedicke and people like that. I don't know
where. I was going to say, I don't know where Les Welsh was going to go, but he posted on Facebook that he'd chosen Arkansas in the end. He headed east.
Yeah.
From what I heard of various reports, Arkansas and that area seemed to be some of the clearest spots along the way. David Robinson, you had your hand up.
You're muted, Dave.
You seem to have lost Dave.
There he is.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, we had our friends who attended the eclipse in Oregon with us from Bend. They went to Mazatlan, and the report we got back from them is they had perfectly clear skies and they had a fabulous experience, just like in Oregon.
Wonderful.
So I expect we'll hear some more from them later.
I'll just do a quick screen share here. Brock posted this picture of where are we here? Yes, this picture of the eclipse path and the satellite. So you can see the cloud cover through Texas here, and then I guess Arkansas and those areas around in this area was a lot clearer, and looks like Southern Ontario was fairly clear, but from what we hear, it actually wasn't. So
well, that was the day before that I was.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it was trending. There was still that band was moving pretty much along the path of the eclipse. So
yeah,
that's uncanny.
Yeah,
it's uncanny. It was following the path.
Very well. Anyway, Reg, you have your hand up here, and you also said you had something to mention about cloud forecasts and cloud models.
Yeah, everyone else has spent their time looking up. I spent my time looking down from space. So I want to show something about that. About what my experience was surprisingly delightful. I had the NASA feed, and they just had a raw feed of all of the different totalities coming along. But I also watched CBC News Network, and they had about a 3-hour eclipse special, and they were interviewing people down in the States in Mazatlan, all the way through Canada. And although it was a little bit chaotic, and they had to interview people in cloudy areas, and they had to feign their enthusiasm in front of people about why they come for eclipses, and they must have been extremely frustrated because they would have probably wanted to not make that commitment, jump in a car and go down the road to a clear space. So that was one thing. But I put together a little spread. Let's see. Desktop one. I'm going to share this and see what happens. First of all, there was talk about the clear sky chart. Can you see this? Are people able to see this?
Yes,
Yep,
we are.
we can see it.
Okay. The clear sky chart has got cloud cover that comes from the Canadian atmospheric models. Dark means clear, white means cloud. The ECMWF stands for European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts. That model is usually embargoed. So this must be fairly new that they've added this layer on here, but they seem to have a slightly different solution. I've been using the other cloud model for at least 2 decades, and I'm not too sure about the ECMWF model. But the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting was centered in Reading in England, and that might be moving due to Brexit. But I digress. What I want to do is go to thing here, and I'm going to try going on slideshow. Play from the start. So one thing I've got to do is get rid of something here on the side. Okay, so the first thing a lot of names that showed up in the raw feed from NASA were places I never heard of before. So I went and I pulled together the path of totality. And first of all, this is in Mexico, and I've never been down to Mazatlan, so I was very curious about that. But my adventure started with seeing this beautiful images from Mazatlan, and I got very excited. They also had some from this station here. So that was in Mexico. And then in the United States, we have the, just a sec here. We have a path through the United States going through Texas, going through Ohio, Indiana, New York, and Maine. And in particular, in New York, we have a situation where totality went right through Buffalo and near Rochester. And then we have in Ohio, it came very close to Cleveland, and I think that they experienced good weather there. I saw really nice totality images from there. And in Canada, in Ontario, you can see that the Niagara Peninsula is down in this area here, very close to totality. I think Point Pelee is about here, and then up to Kingston and Cornwall. And there was a lot of drama down here, and my heart goes out to some people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time here. And then the people who are the big winners were in Sherbrooke, Quebec, and the observatory nearby. The CBC had people, I'm going to mispronounce the name of the observatory, Magellanic or something like that, but they had really good weather, and they had
Megantic.
Pardon me?
Megantic.
Megantic. Yes, they had totality there with clear skies, and people went nuts there. So that was wonderful. And then we had things go in through Frederick, New Brunswick. And the funny thing there was that they interviewed some people at a place called Woodstock because they looked at the cloud statistics, and they got together with a very expensive experiment to launch a balloon so it could get above cloud cover. And the irony was there wasn't a cloud in the sky. So that was at Woodstock. And then in PEI, they had an excellent commentator interviewing people there, and it was the northern tip of the island that was very close to totality. Slim pickings in Nova Scotia. And they were just barely on the totality list. I didn't hear of any reports there. But the one place that is of interest is Gander. And I show you that because you can see St. John's was not in totality, but Gander was there, and they interviewed people in Gander, and they shared their experiences with totality as well. But I wanted to look at, this is a climate statistics chart. In Mazatlan, where Joe and John and Miles Waite and Bill Weir are at, only had 34% chance of clouds, and they had a great time. Dallas, Fort Worth was around 58%, and there's varying things. The CBC North, our news network, interviewed Futterman, an announcer. He was in Dallas. He claims that he saw the eclipse. I've talked to other people in Dallas who said that they were clouded out, so I'm not too sure there. But down here, Montreal has got a 70% chance of cloud, but Gander a 90% chance of cloud. So there it is. So I want to just say, climate is what you expect, weather is what you get. So climate is useful for long-term planning, but dynamical numerical weather prediction models that are using the laws of physics are much better for short-term planning. So that's my commercial here. And so this was the link that I put out to see the cloud forecast. And it was all set up because there was a medley of times between, for the Eastern time zone, it was 3:15 p.m. to 3:30 that the totality occurred. And that corresponds between 19 Zulu and 20 Zulu. That's Greenwich Mean Time. And so what you would do is click on that slide. If you're in Eastern Canada, you wanted to look at their stuff, you would click on U12 UTC. That's the latest time that the model would be initialized for the latest data to develop some cloud forecasts. Or you could go down to the States and click on the Eastern US one, and they would give different coverages. These are all Canadian astronomical cloud forecast models. So this is a 32-hour forecast for the time of totality. Actually, it was between 19Z and 20Z. And so this was issued 32 hours beforehand. And at that time, it shows Lake Ontario here, Lake Erie here, and the area of Niagara right in this area. And over here, there's some clearing from the west. Meanwhile, there's some high cloud showing up that is in the Ottawa area and Montreal area. So keep an eye on this line here. The next forecast, well, this is a forecast that was issued 20 hours before the eclipse. And the back edge of this cloud has moved towards this area. And then at the 8-hour forecast for totality, it was even more optimistic. And there was a clearing area here. And I had my fingers crossed because I knew so many great people were right in that area, including Laurie and St. Catharines. And Kathy Kolzoy is in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And I guess Jill was in Niagara Falls area. And I was just hoping that this thing would move along, because soon after totality, they did get clear skies, and it was because this feature moved through. So this is let's see here. This is a picture at an hour before totality, and you can see this is Lake Ontario. This is the Niagara Peninsula in here, I guess. And the cloud amount is very close. So very clear over here, but there was clouds there. Meanwhile, there's a ragged edge to the front end of the leading edge of this frontal system, and it's just drifting into the Ottawa and Montreal, Sherbrooke area. Meanwhile, out here, we had beautiful weather really in the area of New Brunswick and
a PEI, and even some clear stuff up here where Gander is instead of the 90% cloud amounts that were predicted. And this shows a picture at 1900 local time. That is getting closer to or Greenwich Mean Time. That is getting closer to totality. And you can notice that it's going dark here. This is a visual image. The sun is illuminating the cloud tops, and that's how we're seeing the cloud. But the totality, the shadow is moving in there, and you can see that. And then at time of totality, you could barely see any cloud at all in the area of interest where people were affected. But it's really quite interesting. So what I've got here is an animation that shows the half-hour images of the visual cloud, and we'll just watch that. And you can see the shadow rapidly traverse. This thing's moving at a great speed. The shadow coming up from Mazatlan, and it doesn't take very many frames for it to get right across the entire area of interest. Some people quoted it, it's moving at a speed of over 2,000 kilometers per hour. So that's kind of interesting. So I'll just try and stop this now. Uh-oh. Things might be a problem here. Okay, so this is the similar idea, but this has got a picture that has what we call it false color. It has low cloud or cooler, warmer cloud tops in yellow, and it has the cold cloud tops in white, and that allows you to see a little bit more stuff. And this is every 10 minutes, these images. But we'll just and this is a very short thing. It's only for about an hour, but you can see the progression as it moves inland. And you can also see the cloud amount that is moving towards St. Catharines creeping in there, but it just didn't get its act together in time. Meanwhile, a little bit of cloud moving into the Montreal area. And I'll just try and oh, this is another image showing these pictures were showing the totality again, the shadow moving very rapidly across the area. And this is a period of about an hour. So a lot of things happened all at once there. And here are some images also. This is the visual images where it wipes out the high cloud altogether because you're not seeing any infrared signal, just the cloud, and that is another image there. So I thought those were kind of neat and interesting, so I'll leave that. So closer to home, this is a picture taken at 1736 Zulu. This is 10:30 in the morning. At 10:30, first contact was supposed to be visible in Victoria, and we had strong winds, and the winds are flowing over the Olympic Mountains, and it's producing what we call a clearing due to subsidence of the air here. It's like the rain shadow, and this is also showing up a little bit in this area here, closer to where Ron is located in Qualicum area. And if I go here, an hour later, closer to the eclipse, the clear area in here went away, so it was a little bit cloudy. I actually saw shadows on the ground, and I could really see the sun clearly before it started its eclipse. And I did not have, because it was so cloudy most of the time, it was just very fleeting experience of this, where you could see the sun for a very brief period of time. So I got together my eclipse glasses and an iPhone, and I took this picture, which I'm immensely proud of. You can see here the sun. This is at 12:06 p.m. and there's a little notch out of there. And I know this is pitiful, but it's the best I can do. And the visual impact of this was I did not receive the same emotional impact from this eclipse experience that I did down in Oregon in 2017. And I'll stop the share and leave it there.
Thank you,
Reg,
Reg. Reg,
if you magnify it, actually, you can really see the notch.
Well, yeah, it's wishful imagination, but
I should add, Reg, that I got to see the sun up in Qualicum Beach, and I got to see the eclipse, but there was just the tiniest sliver of the moon against the sun up here, so I didn't take any pictures.
Okay, I can understand that. At any rate, the combination of the video and the fact that I had people of my buddies down in the East, I really enjoyed this thing because I seem to have some ownership or some concerns of their well-being, and I'm sorry about the poor folks on the Niagara Peninsula. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah. David Payne, you had your hand
Oh,
up.
I just had a question for Reg. Like, I had my eye on Maine, which the east part of Maine on your videos, which was absolutely clear in all the forecasts and in reality, and they had spectacular images came out of Maine. And I
Yeah.
also had my eye on Maple Bay when you went to the West Coast, and indeed I can attest to the cloud that we saw. But I had a question on your initial sky chart. There's two things that show up. One is cloud cover, which I can see when I relate that to seeing clouds in the sky. And the other is called transparency, which I think is another word for high cloud cover.
There's several things. I'm going to give a little bit of appeal here. Can you see this now?
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of things that would be nice to have, but we do not have sufficient resolution in the model to really predict things that well. Seeing is one of them. So I've never really emphasized people to invest a lot of time in that. It's better to look at the upper level circulation. And if you're away from really strong zones of winds, the jet stream, then you'll usually have a bit better seeing. And if the air is not unstable, you'll have better seeing. Transparency is an effort to try and estimate the opacity or amount of light that is getting through the cloud. And I wouldn't put a huge amount of weight in that at this time. I just don't think we have the skill to predict that.
Oh, I live and die by that one.
You do?
Absolutely. Cloud cover, yeah, I can see it's cloudy, but that transparency, it nails it so many times.
Okay, well, I maybe I should treat it with more respect.
If that thing's,
I'm glad it's working for you.
oh, if it says no cloud cover, but that transparency is white, you're not seeing anything. So
okay. So we're looking at a different thing there. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is compare the forecast with the satellite imagery, and that'll give you a level of confidence in the forecasts.
Yeah.
That way.
Thanks.
The visuals on the satellite imagery are always spectacular, but I find it's a lot better to look at the infrared to see where the cloud actually is. You get a much better view of that. I had always taken that transparent or seeing measurement to be related strongly to humidity as well as air currents. I suppose the humidity would affect how stable the air would be as well.
I think that the instability of the air is more factored into the seeing. They have upper level vertical wind shears in the upper atmosphere. And the thing is that the difference between the layers in the atmosphere are not, the resolution is such that I do not think that it can really predict that very well. The other thing is that they have low-level winds that produce mechanical turbulence over rough terrain. That will affect the seeing. And the third component is the relative stability or instability of the air. If you have fairly cool, unstable air, the type that fosters the production of popcorn-shaped rain clouds, then you're going to have poor seeing. But if it's more laminar or layer clouds, even that thin stuff that they have, that's really quite good news for seeing, particularly if you want to get good imagery for for planetary imaging and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Rich. That's interesting all the way around. David, Rich. Well, that's the last of people that I had on my notepad here. Did anybody else have anything they would like to? David Lee, you have your hand up.
So one note before I talk about what happened on the Hill this morning, and Kirsten can kind of help me with that. I just wanted to apologize to people to the Getting Started in Astronomy SIG. It totally just went off my mind in terms of hosting that last Tuesday. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a remake tomorrow night. So if anybody wants to chime in, I know there's some people who have returned from their holidays, so there probably will be some things to talk about tomorrow. So anyways, I've resent the Zoom. It's a separate link. So I just wanted to mention that. So as far as the eclipse was concerned here, I packed a bunch of gear this morning. I listened to the CBC broadcast, and of course it didn't sound good. I had consulted with Reg the night before. Not that he discouraged me, but he didn't want me to be disappointed. I could tell. I could tell he didn't want me to be disappointed. But anyways, I went anyways, and apparently there were quite a number of people, and maybe you can help me with this, Kirsten, because I was out on the deck most of the time with my equipment. Was there really a lot of people in the auditorium?
Yeah. At one point, I actually took a picture when, because I snuck in just a few minutes before totality that was happening in Arkansas, because we were live streaming through YouTube the eclipse in a couple of different, I think the first one was Mazatlan, and then the next one they streamed was in Arkansas. And when I stepped in there, at that point, it was full. I was surprised. Like there was the turnout today, despite the weather and the 28% and all that, on the Hill was really great. It was
because I do remember Dennis telling me near the end, close to noon, he said that they had to close the gate. They were actually cars up Old West Saanich Road.
Yeah, they were running out of parking, and they were actually having to get cars to move because they were like physically blocking the road. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I mean I was out on the deck, and it was kind of fun, you know. I went through the process of setting up the equipment, and of course I try to be the optimistic astronomer, even though I don't feel that way sometimes. But you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I set up anyways, and there were a few spots where you know, you could see the outline of the sun, but nothing more than that. And it was certainly hard to kind of line up the telescopes because you need a certain amount of sunlight to see shadows and things like that. So anyways, it was still fun. There were a lot of people that asked a lot of questions, and Dennis did a pretty good job of simulating the eclipse with the stuffies that we have in the store. So that was kind of fun. He was on Czech TV and also on CTV, as I was as well. They asked me a bunch of questions about eclipses, and you know, I'll have to tell you that they are extremely creative people, because they took a lot of things that I said and sort of stitched it together with other events that were going on in Canada. So even though we didn't really have a lot to see here in Victoria, they made it look kind of bigger and more important than it actually was. But I also found it really amusing that people were very curious about the glasses themselves and how they worked. And they said they kept on looking through the glasses. Are these working? I can't see anything. And I told them, if you can't see anything, that's really good. If you see stuff, that's not good. So I mean, I sort of described the material to them, and they could kind of understood afterwards. And I said, well, if it does clear, we'll get to see, some interesting things, even though we don't have totality, right? So, but that never transpired. So it was still good. It was good to meet a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to come back. Like it was. Even though it didn't pan out for the eclipse today, I think a lot of people became kind of interested in astronomy, and they're going to come back.
Great. David, or Dave Robinson, you had your hand up. You're on mute, Dave.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, Dave. Still can't hear you.
Well, Dave is trying to get his mute off.
I think I finally got the unmute.
Oh, you did it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, sorry about that. I was having trouble getting it unmuted. Yeah, I managed to get the binoculars out on the driveway because I knew it was going to be cloudy. And I had a little thin patch go through right about mid-eclipse. So I did get a bit of a view of the bottom of the moon with a little dog bite out of it. And I got my wife and one neighbor to see it. And then the cloud moved in, and that was it. So there was a teeny bit here, and that's probably because we were down in Cadbro Bay and we had a little clear patch go through, a hazy patch go through.
Actually, I was a little bit amazed by how the sky tends to clear after everything is over. Now, I don't know if that is just a perceptual thing, but Reg, does the weather kind of want to rub it in or something like that? Like
that's well documented. Yes.
It's
I
called
thought so.
Murphy's Law.
I've heard anecdotes about the sky clearing during totality, which is something to do with the change in the insulation, but just anecdotal information. Well, did anybody else have anything they would like to bring up for the evening?
I'd suggest that if anybody's interested, they start booking for the next one, which is in Spain in midsummer. I think it's 2026.
Or Iceland.
Same eclipse.
Let's all go.
We could get a group rate maybe. I think the next North American one is supposed to be 2044, if I recall correctly. But yes, there are
in Alberta.
If you want to travel to other parts of the world, as some of our globe-trotting members seem to like to do, there are quite a few that are going to be happening sooner than that. So it would be a good reason for an expedition. Well, if that's it, I think we can call it a night. And I'll say thank you to everybody who spoke and everyone who had images to show. And the reports from right across the country are all definitely appreciated. So thank you to everybody for coming tonight. And I hope you have a very good rest of the evening and rest of the week. We'll speak with everybody again next week, hopefully.
Good job, everybody. Thanks.
I know.